Okay, hello everybody, welcome to another video. Today we're going to be doing a Q&A. Footage will not be some crazy reshade stuff where I make all effects look completely bright and ridiculous. Instead, we're going to be watching some more Heart of Thorns beta gameplay, where instead of focusing on the things that really matter, I'm busy killing ambience on my Revenant. I've tried to be very fair with the questions I picked for this week. If you have asked me a question before and I didn't answer it, you can always feel free to try it again. The place you want to post them is the comments below, and when I do the next Q&A, I'll be looking there, so leave one if you think of anything cool, and I'll try to get to it. So, the first question comes from Charlie Dominguez, who just says straight away, "Hey WP, I can't wait to see your reshade tutorial." Now, the reason I'm really talking about this today is I mentioned it last week. I'm probably not going to be using reshade, unfortunately. Some of the really cool effects with the tool all refer to a method of giving the scene depth, and this allows you to have like depth of field, right? So as you look around, it can blur stuff that isn't in focus and really lead to some incredible screenshots. Absolutely beautiful stuff. But in Guild Wars 2, for some reason, it doesn't really work. So ultimately, until they get this to work, I'm probably going to shy away from it. The problem is, you only get depth and a lot of effects like God Rays and stuff while standing still. If you start to move, then that stuff all goes away and then it's flicking on and off, and it's just really, really ugly. Far worse than what I've shown in this video. The other thing as well is it is incompatible with immersive combat mode, which I have completely fallen in love with and pretty much using all the time. Actually, I sent a message about 10 days ago to the guy who made immersive combat mode, not really expecting a response. He's not too active on his Reddit account too much, but he responded to me today and actually fulfilled a request I had of immersive combat mode and added the option to hide your user icon, your player icon on the world map, so you can kind of open your world map and get lost, which ties into the level up challenge thing I was talking about last week. So yeah, that's really, really cool. There's actually a new version of immersive combat mode on the website right now, and I love the way it cleans the UI, but it's not compatible with reshade either. So again, I'm flitting around a lot. I probably shouldn't be so transparent about what I'm doing with tools with my game, but I guess you guys can stay in the loop if you like. Next thing, for what it's worth, I'm going to be looking at is using the Guild Wars 2 custom music playlist thing, and if it works really well, I may even do a tutorial on how to add a bunch of new music to the game. As a lot of you guys know, Guild Wars 2 does use the occasional Guild Wars 1 track, and this is cool, but there's a lot of music from Guild Wars 1 in Factions, in Nightfall, in Eye of the North, and even many Default Prophecies songs that Guild Wars 2 doesn't use, and you can, in theory, as long as you own those soundtracks, add them into your Guild Wars 2 game and get a bigger, a richer variety of music that's all very in keeping with the universe and the setting and fits with the other tracks that we've got in Guild Wars 2. So that could be really cool, and that's probably what I'll be looking into next. Playing with a client, it's kind of fun, you know. This is not a game that has ever really supported add-ons, but here we are, and this isn't even including like all the Overwolf stuff, which at some point I will get to. Moving on, the next question comes from Kazakek, or really the first question, who says, "I have a question. About a year ago, and in this video, you mentioned your starting over challenge. When Heart of Thorns releases, have you considered using some aspects of it for your first actual playthrough of Heart of Thorns? For example, not using any waypoints, map, or world map. You've mentioned how immersive and big the world felt when you removed map and transportation. Of course, I'm not suggesting permadeath or no dodge rolling and stuff like that, but what would you think about limiting yourself the very first playthrough to try and get the most out of the game?" This is a really weird thought to me because, yeah, I enjoy it an awful, awful, awful lot. The heightened immersion you get from taking off your map and not using transportation in that way is immense. You can ask anyone who's tried to play under those circumstances that at least initially thought it appealed to them, and they'll tell you that they come out with a really positive experience. I know for a fact that playing Vanilla Guild Wars 2, this was the most fun I've ever really had playing the game, at least in terms of like leveling up is concerned and, you know, not running around doing lots of damage in dungeons or trying weird PvP stuff. For like general exploration and enjoyment of the MMO, this by far is the highest I've ever experienced, just by those specific things. So do you do it with Heart of Thorns when it first comes out? There's kind of two minds for me. Number one, I am always someone that likes to experience things the way the developers wanted us to first. Like when it comes to modding games, for example, I would not be the kind of person who adds overhaul mods and stuff like the first time I go through. I try and get that vanilla experience first, because if you don't get the vanilla experience first, maybe your opinions don't line up very intelligently and smartly with what everyone else says, and maybe you can't share or have really good, deep conversations with people about your experiences and compare with other people. And this is really important for what I am doing now as well on YouTube. I kind of want my experience of Heart of Thorns to be the same experience that everyone did. I don't want to have like weird opinions and come out with stuff like, oh, the terrain in Heart of Thorns in the jungle is so confusing and so stupid, but at least it's really big, while everyone else is saying, you know, it's really simple to navigate and the maps are really small. And my perspective is totally thrown off because I played the game differently, and my opinion, therefore, isn't really the right one. So, I don't know. Maybe the second character I'll do it. My plan is not to play a Revenant straight away. My plan is to take my Elementalist through all the expansion areas as a Tempest, and then actually level a Revenant afterwards and go through it like the second time, so I can really squeeze the most content out as possible. And maybe the second time I'll do this, but if any of you guys do, you'll have to let me know how that experience is for you, because it really would be super fresh. You have no idea where you're going, and you can get truly lost. So yeah. The next question is from Wilder B, who says, hey WP, question, I've noticed that a lot of people are, for lack of a better word, preparing for Heart of Thorns. Whether it's collecting tomes or for an instant 80 Revenant, or getting a full set of armor along with weapons to be able to dive into the level 80 content with a new class, the anticipation is there. That got me wondering about you, as a player with all legendaries unlocked for list and with a new weapon coming for the Ellie. Are you making any preparation to continue your collection complete? If not, are you making any other kind of preparation? I'd love to hear. The tome thing, it's funny because, yeah, I think the tome thing, getting your Revenant to level 80 is the #1 thing. Even the most casual people I know who play Guild Wars 2 are pretty much all riding that tome hype train. They're all saying, oh, yeah, I want that instant 80 Revenant. Like, everyone's going bonkers over it. I have got well over, I'm coming up on my second stack of tomes, and I am not going to use a single one for the Revenant. Like, I want to experience it and level and have fun and kind of experience that joy for the character. I know how it's felt to instant 80 a tune before, and, you know, rush tunes, and I just don't feel a connection to them. So, that's certainly not a part of my preparation, but I do have my preparation, particularly it revolves around lists. And yes, the idea that we could be getting a new weapon has influenced some of the stuff I'm going for. And this involves the fact that the Tempest is going to probably get a sword. So I am basically preparing to create Bolt for lists. And you could say it's a bit premature, right? You could say, oh, are you sure you really want to go for a whole legendary before you even know guaranteed what the weapon is that class is getting? But I think I'm pretty comfortable that it's going to be swords. You know, it was data mined that sword stuff was coming to Ellie, or very much looked like sword stuff was coming to Ellie. And all the other mining stuff's been bang on. The Guardian longbow stuff, I think, was there. The Revenant Legends have all lined up so far. So I'm pretty confident. There's other just logical reasons why it would be sword. The fact that Elementalists have conjure versions of a lot of the weapons out there, but not for just like a one-handed sword, makes sense. The fact that the Tempest is a lightning-y, stormy type character, and if they got sword, the sword offhand at least, then they could go Meteorologicus Bolt for their combo, which is all lightning-y and stormy. Come on, it's got to be sword. But I am hedging my bets a little bit. Basically, what I've done is I have the Gift of Fortune ready, I have a Gift of Mastery ready, and I've bought the precursor. So all I need to do really is craft the Gift of Bolt. If it turns out to not be sword, I simply sell the precursor when the specialization that actually uses sword is announced, so I might make a tidy profit on it, and I'll make a different gift for whatever the weapon ultimately ends up being. I think I don't care what weapon Ellie gets, unless it's pistol. I think pistol would be kind of lame. I don't know. I don't really want to run around with Quip on lists. As much as I like the funny weapons, and I like the idea of dual-wielding Quip on like a thief or unload stupidity. But I don't know. That's the only one that would disappoint me. Otherwise, like the Gift of Mastery and the Gift of Fortune, there's no risk in making those now. They'll work for any legendary I make. So that's the one thing I'm doing for lists. I've got some other goals, though, as well. It's not just all about that weapon, which I'm very close to getting anyway at this point. The other things I want before Heart of Thorns are I want that treasure chest, that friggin' collection, the treasure hunter collection that costs tons of stuff to get the enchanted treasure chest, the special chest in your home instance. I want that, and I'm close. I only need like 300 to 400 more gold before I finally get it. So now that I'm like just waiting for the reveal of sword, that's my main goal. And beyond that too, for PvP, I want to get all the glorious armor, like all of it unlocked. I've got the heavy stuff unlocked, I've got the light stuff unlocked, and I'm just working through the medium stuff now, so that's getting pretty close. And once I'm done with all the glorious armor, because I have all the Amberite stuff, and because I have all the dungeon skins, there is like honestly no PvP track that will give me like a unique reward anymore after that point, and that will make me feel like I'm complete with PvP, if you will. And lastly, given the condition stuff that's going on in the community, I think I want a set of Ascended Sinister light armor. So that will take quite a while to do. I've just started crafting my Damask again. This will allow me... What I want to do when the patch comes out is I want to make like an incineration Ellie. And this would be an elementalist that just stacks as many burns as possible to try and go like on a Condi angle. I don't know whether it will be viable or what, but it will be fun to play with. I know you can stack a ton of burn on someone. And I love the name of that build as well. Incineration Ellie. Oh, that's going to be cool. And Sinister Gear will be pretty much perfect for that. So be good there. It'll be good also over on the Necromancer too, who I want a Condi Reaper. I want that Chill Fear Reaper so bad with both conditions doing damage. It's going to be phenomenal. So yeah, that's my preparation for Heart of Thorns. I really do find Guild Wars 2 is a game that just gives me another goal, and another goal, and another goal, and another goal. There's always something I want. If I was, in theory, done with all of that, I'd probably start going for, like, the Queen Bee, or those black poly things from Halloween, which just look freaking badass, but also very expensive. Suck at Love... who is the guy, by the way, that's doing all these incredible, like, Guild Wars 2 music videos and stuff, says, do you think the PvP dailies will move to something like Daily Reaper Winner? Or do you think they'll stay the same and the exact specialization doesn't actually matter? You know, once upon a time, I would have said yes to this question. I would have said, yeah, you know, they've got to do Daily Reaper. They've got to have, like, special achievement tracks for those elite specializations. But now... I don't know, I think it's less likely. I still think it would be cool. I still think it would be cool if, especially for PvPers who are running out of titles and stuff, you know, ArenaNet made it all really easy to accomplish everything. The only difficult one now is 10,000 wins in PvP. All the rest of the stuff people have pretty much got or getting. So, you know, the expansion comes out and then they get a bunch more achievements that they can go for and tracks based on the elite specializations that they're choosing. That's cool to me, and I think they should do it, but... it seems less likely to me now because of just how free and how we really see how specializations key into the game. You know, we're a long way away from my original thinking of, you know, it being really cool that you'd have to make a new... You'd have, like, one Necromancer could become a Reaper and another Necromancer could become a different specialization, like, entirely. Like, you couldn't hot swap between them. We're a long way away from that understanding now because we see how the system works. And, you know, the logic there has changed a bit. The idea specifically of dailies... Maybe that's requesting too much for someone. Like, maybe they just want to leave it as, hey, if you want to play Necromancer, play any Necro build you want, instead of forcing someone to take a special line. And why stick it with elites? Why couldn't it be like, play a Curses Necromancer or a Death Necromancer today or something like that? That would be interesting too, and another kind of artificial way to shake up the low-end meta stuff in PvP. I don't know. I think that could actually spice things up quite a lot, really. Next question is from Linksamanyaro, who says... do you think we'll get an NPC like Nicholas the Traveller in Guild Wars 2? I just replayed the game and there are so many empty maps in the game right now. I think Nicholas the Traveller was such a good concept and it's also a reason to visit maps you usually not spend time in. I think he still slots in perfectly into the game, even with consideration for the new map bonus system that we'll be getting with Heart of Thorns, where each map, if you do events, you'll get like a special currency from them. I still think Nicholas would be great. He would be a brilliant addition to the game. However, Guild Wars 2 is a lot smaller than Guild Wars 1, and one of the fun things originally about Nicholas was that initial hunt for him to find where he was before he started going on rotation, and we sort of knew all the locations he could appear. That was a really fun element that I don't think Guild Wars 2 would have, because you can waypoint around so easily and the game itself is just a hell of a lot smaller, so that we'd miss out on a bit. But yeah, Nicholas, as long as he had good rewards, it would be a fun reason to see people in different maps, but it's kind of just an alternate take on daily Keswick's Hills event completer, really, if you think about it. It's just like it's like a weekly, you know, it's not a monthly, it's not a daily, it's a weekly, and maybe there is a gap for those in Guild Wars 2. Next question from Dead Pixel, who says they should totally have switchable backgrounds for the login screen, just for fun, like an all theme and more stuff like that. I know they have more important stuff to do, but yeah. Interesting comment. I always like comments like this, because it's like, yeah, this would be cool. This is also something, though, that would enrage people, and they'd be like, why are they spending time working on this? I don't know, I think there's a lot of little flavour things like this that Guild Wars 2 could benefit from. Sure, give us different login screen backgrounds. The main thing I've always wanted is the personal story reveals to us so many beautiful pieces of concept art that represent the various areas of the world. There's like 5 or 6 different applicable awesome images that represent Keswick's Hills, and yet we only get to see one on the loading screens. I'd like to see, you know, when you hit a loading screen, it will give you a random chance to see one of any of those 5, you know, like that would be fun. You know, there's so much decent art and we only see a small slice. It's the same as the old flavor lore that used to appear as well. Like, why can't we have an option to toggle that on? Small flavor things like this are fun, but you do have to be careful recommending them, because there's always like a bar where eventually the community is going to say, hey, can you please work on something else, you know, as we saw with Feature Pack 2. The last question for today is from Artheria Tenek, who said, the unfolding of the living story is messing myself up because of the order of events are quite weird. First, the Pact fleet is destroyed, and then Lion's Arch is rebuild. Is there something wrong with Ellen? Why would you rebuild it when your fellas are being slaughtered? It just doesn't make any sense in my mind. Two things here. First, I will say, the Pact aren't necessarily Lion Guard. Like, Ellen killed his Lion's Arch, his Lion Guard, like, and she had some stake in the Scarlet story because Scarlet attacked the city. She doesn't have such a stake in the Morgemoth story, and it's not necessarily loads of Lion Guard that make up the Pact. The Pact is made up by the 3 orders and all sorts, but, like, it's perfectly okay for Ellen to be focusing on Lion's Arch and rebuilding it, even though the Pact's just been destroyed. And think about this too, they're rebuilding Lion's Arch to be a more fortifiable location. This is important for them. They need those walls up. They need to be defensible because stuff is going on and they're looking out for themselves. So it does make sense. However, I've seen this question come up a lot. It's like, hey, when did Lion's Arch get rebuilt in the timeline? Are we really saying it took them like over a year? Are we suggesting that actually they were slowly rebuilding the whole way through a year? Or is it like it was just in destruction for a whole year and then all of a sudden the consortium came along and like, hey, let us rebuild it, you know? Like, I would like an official quote from ArenaNet on that, but this could be a weird situation where it's like, actually the stuff we're currently seeing in Lion's Arch canonically could in theory have been happening during season 2. It's just we didn't see and it didn't line up. But so far, with the way they've treated the living world, is what they actually did was they changed the number of days in the Tyrian year so it would line up perfectly with the real world year, and so everything that happened in game was real time happening, like timeline wise as well. So if it took a month for Scarlet Briar to move from the Tower of Nightmares to the next thing she did in real world time, that also meant it took a month for her to do that in Tyrian time too, and that was a cool little setup they had, which then would mean that yes, it really did take this long, and Lion's Arch is now only just being built a long time after the Pact fleet's been destroyed. But yeah, Heart of Thorns coming out complicates things. It's a cool topic. If you guys have got more input on that, let me know. If you've got questions of your own, also let me know. Got a lot of cool videos coming up and big news over next week. Do stay tuned, guys. Hope you enjoyed, and I guess I'll see you next Q&A coming up later. Have a good evening, everyone.